Welcome back to my channel. Before we dive in, I want you to like, subscribe, and share this channel. I'm going to be showcasing some pretty amazing people in the next coming weeks on my podcast, Unmute with Priya. So let's dive in. I want to talk about something today because a question that I'm getting from my clients and that I even ask myself is, how did I get here? As an adult, how did I get here? We're going to talk about the journey that we go through in life because all of these things that we go through, not being able to say no, we lose our voice, we feel like we're a doormat, we're getting walked all over. We weren't born like that. What happened? How does it happen? I remember when I was at my worst point, I was asking myself, how did I get here? Just even a year ago, I was traveling, I was going to different countries. I would book a flight at the drop of a hat. Now I'm stuck in my house asking myself daily, how did I get here? How did I lose my voice? How is it possible that I don't even know how to say no? So I am not an artist. So just excuse my stick figures. Let's have fun with this. When we're born, here's my little baby, and we are absolute pure essence. We're born whole. Our voice is intact. When we're born into this world, what are they looking for? They're looking for that first cry. They want that voice to come out, right? We are just pure, and there's pure love. Now, what happens after this, right? Up until a certain point, we're nurtured, we're carried, we're loved. We start crying. Oh, we're fed. They're listening to our cues. And then we start to get older. What starts to happen? Let's pile on some family rules here. Now, what can be those family rules? Well, be a good girl, be a good boy, respect your elders. You need to listen to people. Don't say no. It's rude to say no, even though you were excited when no was my first word. Don't upset this person. Look what you did. So the family conditioning starts to happen. And now I'm not saying that this is bad, right? I love my family, and they were just the product of their parents and how their parents were raised. So they're only doing the best that they can given what they've been given. So if we, and I only understand that now from this perspective as I've healed this little baby, this little child of mine, because it started very young for me. I remember being young and playful and just wanting to go out and run around. And then slowly those rules started to pile on top. So yeah, be good. Don't upset this person. Don't upset that person. You can't say no. Respect this person. Respect that person. Don't do this. Don't do that. Now, let's take the family rules plus some cultural expectations. Now, cultural expectations. Culture runs deep. Culture is not just about being from another country. So even I'm growing up in America, I'm Asian Indian. There's multiple cultures running within me. There was the culture that was within my community growing up in New Jersey. Then there was the culture within my family unit. Then there's the culture where I am from in India. Then there's this country dynamic where what it means to be American. And so culture runs deep as well. Now, depending where you're from and what your culture dictates, that could also influence this whole, I'm a woman, so I'm going to speak to this being this good girl or being a good boy or worrying about what people say. So this starts early as well. You've got the family rules. Now you've got the cultural expectations, worrying what people say. As a child, you're going out and you're doing whatever you want. You're not worried whether somebody's going to laugh at you running. And then all of a sudden, you get into the family rules and the cultural expectations, and there's another layer. So I want to draw this baby. I'm going to draw this baby right here in the middle. Notice, that's family, right? Now, I'm going to put that there. Now I'm going to put another circle around this poor baby where there's cultural expectations. So now you've got another layer being added to the person. Now let's add plus gender roles. Now, what does that mean? And I add another circle around this baby and add gender roles. So gender roles can be a form of self-sacrifice. It can be, don't be so loud. As a woman, I was taking care of it all. I was the nurturer, right? And then there's also within my family unit, the boys, they're the kings, even just now, if I go back to my culture, even years back, we're talking ancestors, they respected the men more than the women. I heard about people terminating their pregnancies when they found out that they were girls. So this starts early as well, between the family, the culture, and then the gender roles. Like, what are you meant to do? When I was an adult, I went to Japan to teach English. And I was shocked because I was in a teacher's classroom or the teacher's room, and I was the only woman there. And the principal was male, the vice principals were male. They had a visitor. And rather than making the tea, they expected me to do it. And I got up and I did it because I thought it was my role. So ask yourself, what are the gender roles that were enforced upon you? What were you expected to do because you were a male or because you were a female? Were you expected to take care of it all? Were you expected to take care of your siblings? My cousin, her brother was born 10 years after her, and she automatically took on the role to take care of him. She didn't even know any differently, and her parents didn't encourage anything different or tell her, hey, go be a child, we'll handle this. They actually put that pressure between family, culture, and the gender role of being the caretaker for her brother. Let's get back to the next level. We're going to go to school and achievement, right? So what does that mean when we talk about school and achievement? So maybe you're in school and you learn to keep the peace. You learn to not speak up, or you learn to keep your voice down. When I went to school, I was terrified about speaking up. I remember being terrified about raising my hand because I had never been encouraged to actually speak up. And that's all of these things piled on top. Another circle around this baby, around school. Now, school is piling on top. You might be told in school, don't be too much, don't ask for more. I remember being in school, and I have said this on another episode, where I grew up in the 80s. I love 80s fashion, and the thing to wear was overalls with a tank top, and they were short overalls, and then you wore high tops. And I remember wearing this, and I was so excited because my parents bought this for me for my birthday. And I walked into the school, into my class, and my teacher pulled me over and said, don't start being a hood. And I said, what do you mean? I had absolutely no clue. He was already putting a rule on me that if I dress this way, that I am a certain type of person, when all I was doing was expressing my fashion. Now, the last part here, I'm going to squeeze it in. We become adults, and this is work, right? And the workplace. Let's put another circle around this baby. How many things are on this baby? If you can make sense of my diagram. We've got family rules, cultural expectations, gender roles, school, work, right? And then in work, you might stay quiet. You might be scared to speak up because you're maybe speaking up or sharing an opinion is questioning authority. And your family and culture said, you better not do that. You're forced to blend in. You're forced to accommodate. You're forced to be grateful for being in work. You're encouraged to stay quiet in the event that there's action taken against you. It was punitive. I remember working at my first school, post-grad school. I spoke up and I was terrified, and I got in trouble and pulled into the office for speaking up. And they were essentially telling me, be quiet, just be a puppet, come here, do your speech therapy, and don't do anything else. So look at how many layers around this baby right now, right? And then you go here. And from the baby, now you are the adult version of this baby. Pure baby who came into this world pure, intact, with a voice. And now the adult you, with all of these layers, is people pleasing. You're over explaining. You say yes all the time because you're too afraid to say no, or you don't even know how to say no because you were never allowed to say no. Are emotionally exhausted. You're overgiving. And in my scenario, when I was this adult, I was getting into relationships with men where I lost my voice, where initially they may liked my voice and it was attractive to them, but slowly They pounded me into the ground, just one little thing after another, to make me so small that by the end of it, I was asking myself, how did I get here? And that is what I often asked myself when I got into those relationships. I was terrified to speak up, absolutely terrified to speak up. I didn't know what my voice was because I was so used to accommodating others, going out of my way to people please. And God forbid that my people pleasing didn't go the right way. I was punished by the other person. Their behavior said, hey, this wasn't good enough. So constantly feeling like I was not good enough for them. And anything that I did was never going to be good enough. I was an absolute emotional mess. Now, all of this, right? All of these things, the family rules, the cultural expectations, the gender roles, the school, the work, right? All of those things piled on top, we often go through life unaware that we have these layers. Just think in terms of an onion. Those are the layers of an onion. And then we get to being that adult saying, what happened? And then your mind immediately starts going back to those places where you were your happiest. You were actually like, wait, I remember that I used to get on a plane and I was so independent and I was so carefree and I just used to dance. And now I'm just staying at home terrified, and I don't know who I am. All of this accumulated weight of all this shit. And the good news is the good news. And this is the breakthrough. When you are that adult that you're asking yourself, how did I get here? For women, asking that question, how did I get here, often happens around 40, because that coincides with perimenopause. And you start to say, hey, wait a second. Not only are your hormones shifting, your whole way of relating with the world is shifting. Your body's changing. Everything is shifting. So you start to question, hey, this doesn't feel right. I don't resonate with this way of being anymore. So you get to the midlife and you start waking up. It's midlife is an awakening, and some people call it a spiritual awakening. There's plenty here on YouTube, and I follow some pretty amazing people who talk about spiritual awakenings, because it doesn't mean, oh, all of a sudden now you're connected to the supernatural. It's that you're awakening to what you are here for. You're awakening and you're trying to return to that pure essence where you are whole, that you have always been on the X, that your voice is intact, that you are intact, and that you are perfect the way that you are. Menopause is that portal. I have found that to be my portal because I actually speak up now. I actually say yes when I mean yes, and I say no when I mean no. And I don't give an F when somebody's not happy about my no. That's their problem. And it is from this, and that's not me being mean. A lot of people have to preface it with, oh, if I say no, I'm being mean. No, that's you being empowered. And that's what happens around this time when you start to wake up, right? And when you start to ask yourself, how did I get here? You start diving in, and there's a way to do this. You start removing these layers. You start removing these layers of society, of family, of all of these things, so that you can return to that whole person that you were born into. And you start to reclaim your voice. You start to find your power, and it's beautiful. This is a breakthrough. And so I want to share this today to let you know that if you are asking yourself, how did I get here? And you're in this place of, oh my God, I'm miserable. I can't speak up. I don't like what I'm doing. And it's coinciding with this 40 time, perimenopause, postmenopause. You're in the perfect place. It's beautiful. It's a journey. And so many of my clients and even myself have found our way out of it, even though when we were in this place of despair, it felt like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get past this? So the next time you're questioning, how did I get here? Just know all of these, how these things stack over time, and just know there is a way out. So grab my link below that talks about how it's just short training on how to stop people pleasing, how to find your voice, and how to not feel guilty about it. It's www.unmutewithpriya.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this channel. and stay tuned for the amazing podcast episodes that are going to be coming out.